Hello, community, and welcome to another Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anita Polite Wilson, C-Suite Trusted Advisor and Board Director, helping C-Suite leaders and their teams reframe diversity conversations from difficult to different. We've just finished celebrating Black History Month during February, and I want to thank you for all the well wishes concerning my 5th anniversary as a 100% woman-owned small business. I still can't believe 2023 marks 5 years as a thought leader and influencer in the pursuit of diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Thank you for inviting me to be part of your journey, wherever you may be as an individual or as an organization. While I appreciate the fact that America leans into Black History Month as a recognition of American history, I also recognize the fact that it's still just 1 month. We're still on the road to celebrating Black people, people of color, women, and those in the LGBTQ plus or disabled communities for being amazing people every day in every way who happen to be Black people or women or members of the LGBTQ plus or disabled communities. Which brings me to this month's topic specific to the pursuit of diversity, inclusion, and belonging. What's your why not? In August of 2021, I introduced my thoughts about our collective level of awareness concerning diversity, inclusion, and belonging in a podcast called A Subtle Awakening, which has been one of my most popular podcasts to date. In it, I talked about the difference between being woke up unexpectedly and feeling mad versus being gradually awakened and feeling curious. The distinction between the two is important, and I invite you to pause here and listen to it again, or perhaps for the first time. Then come back and join me for today's podcast. I'll wait. Since the beginning of the year, I've had a question mark in my mind that was fuzzy and not fully developed into a complete image. While in the process of preparing for my first of what I hope to be many Circle of Belonging dinners with C-suite leaders, I keep thinking of Simon Sinek's challenge for us to be clear about the all-important why for any endeavor. Specific to diversity, inclusion, and belonging, there is no shortage of data about why it's important for informing employee experiences, igniting employee engagement, improving workforce sustainability, and impacting the bottom line. However, those don't seem to be enough to move the needle in a meaningful way that is sustainable. As a matter of fact, there's a phenomenon called diversity washing that people are taking note of. Diversity washing refers to the practice of companies or organizations making cosmetic changes or superficial efforts to appear diverse, inclusive, or socially responsible without actually making meaningful changes to their policies, practices, or culture. Diversity washing is often used as a marketing or public relations strategy, but it doesn't result in real sustainable diversity and inclusiveness in the workplace. The practice of diversity washing can have a negative impact on businesses in several ways. First, even a hint of diversity washing undermines trust. Employees and customers who see through diversity washing efforts may lose trust in the company and its leadership. This can result in a loss of business and employees leaving or quiet quitting, both of which negatively impact the bottom line. Second, diversity washing results in ineffective diversity and inclusion. When companies engage in diversity washing, they often miss out on the real benefits of diversity, such as increased innovation, creativity, and improved decision making. When employees feel seen, included, and appreciated, they bring their best to work, positively impacting the bottom line. Third, diversity washing leads to missed opportunities. By not fully committing to diversity and inclusion, companies risk missing out on potential customers and employees from diverse backgrounds. Who can afford these days to limit talent or not maximize talent? Finally, diversity washing increases the likelihood of reputation damage. Companies that engage in diversity washing may face criticism and negative publicity, which can harm their reputation and brand image, which can negatively impact their ability to increase market share and revenue. The bottom line is diversity washing is a superficial approach to diversity and inclusion that can have negative consequences for a company's reputation and its ability to attract and retain employees and customers from diverse backgrounds. To truly reap the benefits of diversity and inclusion, companies must commit to making real changes in their policies, practices, and culture. Unfortunately, There are no concrete statistics on the number of companies that engage in diversity washing. It is a difficult practice to measure because, as I've mentioned, it often involves making superficial changes or efforts to appear diverse and inclusive without actually making meaningful changes to the company's policies, practices, or culture. However, some studies have shown that many companies are falling short when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. For example, in a 2019 report by McKinsey and Company, they found that only 5% of global companies had achieved gender diversity in their leadership, and only a small percentage of companies had made significant progress in racial and ethnic diversity. Another study by Deloitte found that only 25% of companies have a comprehensive diversity and inclusion strategy in place, and only 34% of companies have a set diversity and inclusion goal. These findings suggest that there's a significant opportunity for companies to improve their efforts towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that many companies may be engaging in diversity washing instead of making real changes to their policies, practices, and culture. Again, with all the whys for diversity, inclusion, and belonging, I propose that the question to be pondered and grappled with is, what's your why not? A good exploratory starting point would be the December 2020 Harvard Business Review article entitled, Getting Serious About Diversity. In it, the suggestion is made that what matters is how an organization harnesses diversity and whether it's willing to reshape its power structure. That will be the focus of our conversation with Mr. Dwayne Robertson, head of the Office for Diversity and Inclusion for the Young Presidents Organization, also known as YPO. Mr. Robertson's background is impressive, with a proven track record of over 13 years of experience that has resulted in key contributions to private and public sector organizations, including highly effective strategies related to public policy, diversity and inclusion, and population health objectives, through the integration of formative research and community relationship building strategies. In our first conversation with Mr. Robertson, he's going to share with us highlights about his role with YPO and some best practices for operationalizing the D&I strategy to make YPO a more diverse and inclusive organization that you can consider for implementation with your organization. In our second conversation with Mr. Robertson, I'll invite him to share his thoughts about diversity washing, the notion that people are experiencing diversity fatigue, and explore any possible connections between diversity washing and diversity fatigue. Finally, our last conversation with Mr. Robertson will focus on the idea from Harvard Business Review that suggests what matters is how an organization harnesses diversity and whether it's willing to reshape its power structure. If you'd like to listen to this podcast again to help prepare yourself for our real conversation from the C-suite with Mr. Dwayne Robertson, please go to my website at dranita.com and click the Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita link in the top center of the landing page. That will take you to my podcast. Please follow, like, send me some feedback, and share with your network any broadcast that helps you reframe diversity conversations from difficult to different. Until next time, this is Dr. Anita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.